Today, I'm going to show you how to make perfect guacamole. And we're going to use this dish to talk about one of the most important and possibly overlooked concepts in cooking: salt. Guacamole is delicious. We all love it. And you might be thinking, all guac is good. How can it be improved upon? And I'd mostly agree with that sentiment, but there is a way to really make your guac pop, even with all the different ways we like to personalize. To answer that question, we're gonna do a little experiment. This is gonna demonstrate the cooking concept that I wanna go over, a key to cooking. And if you can master this, it'll make your guacamole guacamazing. But seriously, mastering how to salt your food correctly is gonna elevate your cooking game, so keep watching. This concept applies to any dish. I believe that with all dishes, there is a specific magic percentage of salt. That magic number, that threshold, when you reach it, it's like there's a whole different thing going on. It's not just a combination of avocado, lime, salt, etc. You've got guacamole. It's like 1 + 1 = 3. It's like synergy. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. You get what I'm saying? One more illustration. It's not like you would expect. As you add more salt, it gets steadily tastier. I describe the relationship of salt to tastiness something like this: an inverted parabola. So there's a window where the saltiness is optimal, and the threshold to it isn't just linear. There's a moment where when you cross it, you just know. So there's this range where the salt level should be, and today we're trying to find out what X is, that salt content range. Alright, let's get this started. So we have our main ingredient, avocados. For the experiment, we're gonna use just the avocados. Then afterwards, I'll show you how I make my guac. I have here pre-measured salt in increments of 1/4%. I also have here a little bit of the avocado that I put to the side so that I could use as a palate cleanser and a control in between the increments. Here's the first 1/4%. Mix it into my guacamole. Alright, so before I taste this, I'm going to taste a little bit of the control. This is just pure avocado. Tastes like avocado. My tasting spoons. Okay, here we go. Okay, actually tastes a little bit of salt. Not salty enough though. So I'm going to go ahead and add the next one. This is a palate cleanser. This is with 0.5%. Oh yeah, yep. Still just tastes a little bit like avocado plus a little saltiness. But there's gonna come a point where when I add the next, or whichever increment I add, where it tastes like, wow, this is very different. Had to wash my spoons. Okay, here we go. This will be after the third one. Now let's taste 0.75% of salt. Yep. Still tastes like just avocado plus a little salt. With this, we have a full percent. Taste the control. Alright, this is 1%. You see my face? It just becomes something completely different. Now, you also have to keep in mind that the salt does have to settle with the avocado, but already at this point, I can taste that it's guacamole. The salt has reached the point where the flavor is unlocked. And this is the beauty of salt. It doesn't just add saltiness to your food, it actually brings out flavors. And that's the key to using salt in your cooking. So I happen to know that 1% is where I like my guacamole, but for the sake of science, we're gonna add one more increment of 1/4% of salt, just to see what happens. Okay, here we go. Mix that in. Okay, so I'm gonna taste my control here. So this is 1/4% more than what I normally do. You can probably tell just by looking at my face, right? There's too much salt here. And just like 1/4% less than the mark was different than hitting the mark, going over by 1/4%, you can taste the difference. It's salty. I know it's a minuscule amount, but it makes a huge difference. Well, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking I just oversalted my guacamole. What am I gonna do? Well, thankfully I have some more avocados, so I'm gonna go ahead and fix this and make my guacamole. Let's taste it. That's better. As you saw, we used the scale for our little experiment, but I actually recommend using a scale when you cook regularly. By using a scale regularly, you get precision every time. Now, I used to be afraid of oversalting, and so I would err on the side of undersalting, which is a practical concern because, you know, if you oversalt and it's inevitable, then you might have to make another trip to the grocery store. And in the case of avocados, the stakes are a lot higher because you might go to the grocery store and find that the avocados are not ripe. Then you have to wait several days for it to ripen again. But again, if you know the right percentage of salt, then you can avoid this problem altogether. Here's a caveat. For the purposes of this video, we're talking purely about taste. There are a number of reasons not to aim for perfect salt concentration every single time. First is time and effort. Most of us probably are not chefs, and there's no real reason for us to measure every ingredient with a scale. The other reason is health. Too much salt in your diet is not good for you in the long run. Honestly, it's probably better for you to just undersalt or just skip the salt altogether for most meals. But every once in a while, it's nice to be able to treat yourself to a nice high quality dish at home. Or just do what they do in restaurants and just put a tiny spoonful on your plate and make it look pretty. Use your discretion. Okay, so let's continue. We have our avocados that's already salted. I used a total of 4 medium-sized Hass avocados, or about 370 grams. And now we personalize our guacamole. This is where you can get creative. I'm gonna add 60 grams of diced tomatoes. Next, we add onions, about 40 grams. Then we add some garlic, a few generous pinches of cilantro, the juice of 3/4 of a lime, then mix. Don't forget to add the salt. And remember, when you're actually making the guac, use 1% of the weight of the entire thing for salt. Another tip when making guac is to let it rest. Let all the components get acquainted with each other. Remember we talked about synergy, 1 + 1 = 3? Well, by resting it, we bring the whole thing together. It's like 1 + 1 = 4. We're gonna do that by resting it in the fridge for several hours, preferably overnight. Another tip is to use plastic wrap to press right up against the guacamole. That way it's airtight. This will help preserve the nice green color. And that's it. Alright, well I know I said you gotta let this thing sit in the fridge for a bit. You know, sometimes you gotta take a little bit to taste. I'm a little bit impatient, alright, so I'm gonna go for some. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you like this video, remember to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe, hit the bell for the notification. Leave a comment, tell me how you make your guacamole. Bon appetit.